Are you Mr Piffle?
Yes.
Mr Piffle hoped there'd be more orders like this. On this one alone, his commission ran into thousands of pounds. Yet, I'm asking you matters of purely public interest about your dealings with Emerson's and the Pakistanis. Is it true you placed an order in 1976?
I'm Friday in England with Mrs Thatcher together.
A later order for more centrifuges from Emerson's, worth over £1 million, was frozen by the British government. Even so, Pakistan already had enough inverters to run several thousand centrifuges. In 1976, 3 Pakistani buyers came here to Switzerland. This time they were frank about what they wanted: valves for a uranium enrichment plant. VAT, a highly specialized firm which supplies nuclear facilities all over the world, were only too happy to oblige. To cover themselves, they wrote to the appropriate government official asking whether an export license was required. The government wrote back listing sensitive items based on guidelines laid down by the so-called London Club of Nuclear Supplier Nations. The Pakistani order didn't clash with the list, and the Swiss government, anxious for firms to enter the lucrative nuclear export market, didn't ask further questions. The Pakistanis were so impressed with this aggressive selling attitude that they upped their requirements. They went to Cora Engineering, tucked away in the Alps, with an astounding request. Could Cora, they asked, design and build a system to feed gas to the centrifuges? The answer was a very rapid yes. This was no small, vague component, but a vital stage in the enrichment process to be custom-made in Europe. It was one of the biggest and most blatant orders placed anywhere by the Pakistanis. So how did Cora imagine the enriched uranium they were helping to produce would be used?
What can lead to a nuclear weapon? That is the question, of course. Nuts and bolts can lead to a nuclear weapon.
Well, they could.
And now, where do you draw the line?
The complete plant was so large that 3 chartered Hercules planes were needed to fly it from Switzerland to Pakistan. Let's suppose you were absolutely satisfied that they were going to use this plant to make a nuclear weapon. Would that have changed your mind one bit about supplying it?
I would say we first of all, we have no knowledge in nuclear weapons design or construction or anything. We wouldn't even know how to build one, how to design one. That is for one thing. And we would certainly not actively support anyone to build a nuclear weapon. Right.
But you have, haven't you?
No. How could we?
But you're coming back to your point that you don't really know or wish to know what the end product is going to be used for. Your attitude is, surely, don't ask too many questions.
No, how should we know, really, what they intend to do with it, what they want to do with it?
You're saying you had no idea at all?
No.
This ability not to know makes life easier for Mr. Butt in his role as chief buyer. He's still attached to the embassy in Paris and still placing orders. One of his recent ones was for small quantities of uranium-235 and plutonium. They were, he said, to be used by Pakistani students. So Mr. Butt had acquired the machinery and his bosses had the expertise. But they were no use without the raw material. He came to this office in Dusseldorf in search of, among other things, uranium yellow cake.
He was a member of the Pakistan embassy, and he is authorized to negotiate with that material. And he is buying that material for the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission.
But when he telephoned to press the order, was he more interested in the hexafluoride or the yellow cake? Did he say what he wanted?
Also, exactly he did not say it, but I believe he was more interested in yellow cake.
In the end, Mr Bhutto and the Pakistanis found a very different supplier for their yellow cake. Islamic Republic of Niger. Need to build their bomb. The company mining the uranium is French and is headed by Monsieur Jacques Giscard d'Estaing, cousin of the French president. The site's stranded in the middle of the blistering desert, hundreds of miles from the nearest town. In temperatures which often touch 120, thousands of local laborers, supervised by French engineers, continually inhale hot dust as they extract the uranium. The billions of tons already extracted have left a monstrous crater in the desert. The ore's processed on the spot under strict French control into yellow cake. The Islamic Republic of Niger takes its share of the mine's output. Almost all of that is sold to her Islamic brother states, Libya and Pakistan. Some of Pakistan's uranium goes via France. The rest is flown out through Libya. The uranium convoy travels 150 baking miles to a barren desert airstrip at Agadez. From there it's flown northwards across the vast Sahara to Tripoli in Libya. The last leg of the uranium trail is from Tripoli 3,000 odd miles to Karachi in Pakistan. Now, neither Niger nor Pakistan has signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, an agreement which is supposed to stop the spread of nuclear weapons. But once again, Pakistan agreed to safeguards over the use of its uranium. And once again, the words had a familiar ring. Pakistan undertook that no uranium
shall be used for the manufacture of any nuclear weapon, or to further any other military purpose, or for the manufacture of any other nuclear explosive device.
The president of Niger is Seyni Kunchi. Under his stern leadership, the country's gone from being one of France's poorest former colonies to being wealthy, all because of uranium sales. But he's only there by the grace of France and, more important, Colonel Gaddafi, who supported the coup which brought Kunchi to power. Gaddafi knows that, as with oil, uranium means power, and he'd like to become the uranium broker to the world of Islam. Kunchi is the man who could help him to do it, and thereby reinforce Libya's role in the Pakistani bomb. The uranium trade between Niger and Pakistan is partly the result of Libyan diplomacy. Kunchi, like Gaddafi, is deeply committed to Islam. It's no coincidence that almost all of Niger's uranium goes to Libya and Pakistan.
We sell our uranium to any country on condition that it participates in our development. Secondly, we expect our uranium to serve the interest of development, not of war. And we require that the International Atomic Energy Agency guarantees the sale. Therefore, we don't see why our selling to one particular country should lead to complaints. We are selling and will continue to sell to Pakistan. If the IAEA doesn't carry out proper supervision, then that's a matter for its own conscience.
The civil servants at the IAEA say they know what